and make it so that people live here, work here, or that commuting isn't as congested. And that's where the idea came from. And then we have a great city manager and staff, and they took it from there, and there's a tremendous amount of interest in it. And so we just ask our customers, we ask the cities, we ask the countries who are doing that technology. Israel is very advanced in those kinds of things, the autonomous vehicles. And then we ask the companies themselves, and it has been they were in Georgia Tech, very supportive, very helpful, giving us a lot of information. But we did it for economic development reasons because, let's face it, that's what cities need to do to under support the property values that are our residential property values and our commercial property values. And we have a zero millage rate. We don't charge property tax here, and we're able to do that because we have such a strong business sector.
And that speaks to with today. Walk through, like you said, today is a culmination of all those things that we talked about, just from the origins of the city, the business development, technological development, for people that weren't able to be here today. Of course, we understand why it's significant, but for the general public, why is today so important?
Well, I would say, in a phrase, anything we can do to connect Washington, and you saw the state was here, the county was here, and the city was here. We were all, and the congressman was here. We were all talking about the same subject. How can we use technology to improve transportation and infrastructure? And the key being anything we can do. Climate change is getting to be undeniable. How can we go about reducing our carbon footprint? How can we use solar technology to advance EV charging? And this is a great demonstration of it right here with our solar roadway. How can we have charging stations that enable our citizens to zip around town without adding to pollution? How can we reduce congestion? Those are all things that you saw all of us at all levels of government talking about that today. And there was no politics, there was no, everybody was lined up on subjects to benefit the citizens, as opposed to the partisan divide that we all know about. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it does, because like you said, you had multiple segments. Like you said, you have T-Mobile out here, a lot of the business interfacing that you mentioned before, the government here, and everybody, like you said, was on the same message. Like, these are things that we've identified as universal themes and universal, we'll say, to-do lists, yes, for lack of a better term. But specifically here, and I know Secretary Buttigieg talked about it, how looking at what's going on in smaller areas, how that can be duplicated in larger areas. Remind people again, like the great technology advances that are already taking place here in Peachtree Corners, and how some of the best of what you're doing could definitely be duplicated on that state level, regional level, and national level.
We're testing today a solar roadway that charges an EV charging station. It's not on the grid. That means it can be out in a rural area where you don't have power lines going to it. We're proving that technology today so that EV charging can be so much more available in the rural areas where the trips are longer. And that reduces that carbon footprint that we talked about. Autonomous vehicle testing. Right now, autonomous vehicles you heard what Secretary Buttigieg said. The biggest contributor to carbon, to the greenhouse effect comes from the transportation sector, which is a challenge. How can we reduce that? EV and autonomous vehicles is probably the best way to do it, because with autonomous vehicles you can time things, and one of the things we have here is video as a sensor. Whereas you can, if the videos, the cameras spot congestion, you can change the street lights so that it enables you to go this way and go around different kinds of problems. And those kinds of network traffic solutions, they're being tested today here. So autonomous vehicles, C-V2X, cellular vehicle to everything technology. That's the technology that enables, at 5G speed, for your autonomous vehicle to ping the street light and say it's red or green. And if it's traffic is coming, then you can slow down ahead of time, and that reduces the amount of electricity that's used. Or if it's a gas-powered autonomous vehicle, the amount of gas that's used. And the same thing, how does it know what the speed limit is? It pings it. So that whole network of CV2X is an important part of the future that's happening right here. And how it benefits the city of Peachtree Corners, for the first time ever, there's a global CV2X conference. One of them is 3 locations in the world: Hamburg, Germany, Silicon Valley, and Peachtree Corners, Georgia. That's over 1,000 visitors to our COVID impacted hospitality sector. And they're going to love it. I mean, you know, they're going to fill the hotels for a couple of days there in October and eat at our restaurants. And it helps bringing those people here to